Everyone said Damien Thorne was crazy in love with me. To bend me to his will, he had my fiance mutilated, sending what is left of him as a birthday present, wrapped and delivered like a grotesque joke. I answered in kind. I took Damien captive, snapped one of his Achilles tendons, and tore out an eye. He did not rage. He only smiled, calm and pleased. You see? I told you. We belong together. Two halves of the same ruin, darling. I found myself returning that smile, surprised at how true it felt. 8 years we survived together, a life braided with blood and mayhem. Then she appeared, white and fragile in a long dress, like a presence carved out of light. She tracked me down, all purity and soft edges. Damien says you are too filthy for him, only I can stand beside him, she said, voice like museum glass. I shrugged, bored, then dragged a knife across her face, a clean, deliberate cut. An angel, huh? Tell me, do angels come with scars? Her wails were exquisite, a sound that made something inside me hum. I photographed her ruined beauty and sent the image to Damien. Your pet, dispose of her, I wrote. 10 minutes later Damien arrived, a pistol tucked at his hip. What have you done? He asked. I taught your disobedient dog a lesson. Isn't that gratitude enough? I replied. His brow knit, the empty socket pulsed, an eerie red glint as he ground his teeth. Scarlet, you do not harm someone else's pet and ignore the owner. You crossed a line. I lit a cigarette, rubbing the rim of my ear like a bored cat. What was that? Barking again. I can't hear you. Speak up. Scarlet, you. Piper, clutched in his arms, pressed fingers to her bleeding face and sobbed, raw and hysterical. Damien, kill her, make her pay, she screamed. She ruined me. She is jealous, she wailed. Damien shoved her hands away. When he saw the blood on her face, his eyes flared crimson. He drew the gun and set the barrel against my forehead, the chamber click sounding enormous, his voice colder than metal. Scarlet, you went too far. She is only a girl. She is not like us, I said, smiling. I nudged the muzzle aside and blew smoke into his face. So what now? Will you murder me to soothe her? Or will you scar me too, to make her whole? My tone was playful, dangerous. He did not answer because a dagger was already pressed under his ribs. Men who had come with him closed in on me in a heartbeat. The blade bit, drawing a thin line of blood. Damien hissed. After a long, slow look, he lowered his hand and forced a smile, waving the men off. Stand down, all of you. I did not say to intervene. Leave. Scarlet Hayes. You're something else, he said. So are you, Damien. You taught me well, I answered. He had turned my life into a lesson, cutting away what I loved to harden me. He had guided my hand when it had to be guided. He had told me, in effect, that only if I became as filthy as he was, only then could I be worthy of him. He had dragged me from whatever light I once had, stamped me into red dust. The white gardenia of my life had been drenched in blood. There was no returning it to how it had been. And now he preferred virginal flowers? The thought was almost laughable. What, Damien, not fond of my present? You always loved severed limbs. Maybe I was still too merciful. I will try to do better next time. Piper screamed for revenge, tugging at Damien until he looked at me long enough to say, low and certain, Scarlet Hayes, remember this. This will end badly for you. The payback arrived faster than I anticipated. That night, Damien summoned every surgeon he controlled and ordered them to erase Piper's scar, threatening them until they promised no trace would remain. I learned of it while feeding the sharks in my private tank, a low whistle escaping me as the fish slipped and circled. Haven't eaten properly in a while, have you, little ones? Getting peckish. I murmured. Charles stood beside me, coat in hand, indignation written across his face as he draped it over my shoulders. Mr. Thorne has gone too far this time. He has never turned on you for a woman before. If it were not for you, Miss Hayes, the syndicate might never have fallen into his hands, he added, begrudging respect in his tone. I shook my head, amused. Just a plaything. Let him dance. When the music stops, I will sweep up. I taped a finger to Charles's lips, annoyed but affectionate. Remember, there is no syndicate anymore. We are a corporation now. I turned to the fish Damien had bred, nodding. Throw them in. Anything useless gets discarded. A school of small fish darted in panic, but none escaped the shark's jaws. I watched them go, snapped a picture, and sent it to Damien. Fun, isn't it? Just not enough. Not enough to fill them up. Breed more next time. Damien said nothing, but then started a FaceTime call. When I picked up, Piper's triumphant face filled the screen. Disappointed to see me, she cooed. Too bad, she continued, leaning in to show the hickey on her chest, voice syrupy. Damien didn't leave me for being marred. He swore he would make you pay. He's called in all his family doctors. I heard you need injections just to sleep. Sweet dreams tonight, Scarlet. You're filthy, disgusting, she sneered. My hands are clean, she added, as if that made her better. I smiled. What a pity. Clean people do not survive long in the Thorne clan. The call cut. Charles entered with papers. Miss Hayes, the items you asked about have been located. They will be at tomorrow night's auction. At last, news worth a grin. 8 years I hunted. They have finally surfaced. Ready 500 million. Tomorrow they come home. At the auction, I ran into Damien and Piper. Piper clung to his arm with a smug smile. Miss Hayes, how convenient. Anything you want tonight, she asked. Damien said everything here tonight belongs to me, as compensation, I replied. Damien rested his hand on her, smoothing things over. She is right, I said it, he murmured. You crossed a line last time. This is my apology, he told me, then added, Scarlet, stop being childish. I found that laughable. When I handled his enemies, bodies piled up, and he praised the efficiency. Now, because of Piper, I was childish. I kept my voice low. Did you see the pictures last night? He blinked, as if he had not. Piper stammered, then admitted I had sent images of the tank. I thought they were useless fish. I deleted them, she lied. Damien's breath tightened, anger flaring. Then he checked himself when Piper started to cry. Forget it. Watch the auction. We will talk later. The auction began. Damien did not bid. He simply declared everything off limits. The room whispered. My face went stone. Items sold, one by one. When the final 3 lots came up, I stood. My mother's jade bracelet, the Buddha my father commissioned, the antique my grandfather left me. I flagged a staff member. Reserve those for me, whatever the price. They paled, stammering. Miss Hayes, you know the rules when Mr. Thorne claims everything. Maybe speak to Mr. Thorne? I walked to Damien's private box. Piper, however, pointed at the last lots from the stage. Damien, I love those. Give them to me, she demanded, voice syrupy again. The baby, and I will be upset when he is born if you do not. Her stomach was still flat, but she put on the show. So that was the boldness at my door. She was carrying his child. Damien's face went cold. Scarlet, these are for Piper, he said, tone flat. I promised her. I will get similar things for you later. You know what those mean to me, I said. 8 years ago, the syndicate was torn apart. Those heirlooms vanished. I killed hundreds to find them, while their leader endured torture before I got answers. Damien's words were edged with a suppressed fury. Why are you so obsessed with the belongings of the dead? I told you. I will compensate you later. This time they are for Piper. You owe her, he answered. Piper stepped forward with a cruel smile. Your parents are gone, Miss Hayes. Keeping their things will only make you sadder, she mocked. I heard they were dismembered and stuffed into dolls. I was terrified. Her lie stabbed. Rage flared hot. I slammed her down onto the table, drew a dagger from my thigh, and pressed it to her wrist. Too much talk, I said, cold. Choose the items or your hand. Damien shoved the knife away in a sudden motion. I drew my pistol and pressed it to Piper's belly. Scarlet, let her go. Damien's voice cut sharp. Piper only spoke the truth, he snapped. You've spilled enough blood. Can't you face a little honesty? If your parents hadn't angered so many enemies, would they have died so horrifically? Look at yourself. You're hardly recognizable anymore. The pistol trembled in my grip, nearly firing. My whole body shook. He knew. He knew the truth. My parents hadn't died because of their sins, but because of his. His enemies had stormed in, binding the 3 of us together and demanding I choose. Save my parents and Damien would die. Save Damien and my parents would perish. In their final moments, my parents smiled at me with weary eyes, telling me they were too old to shield me anymore. They entrusted me to Damien. They ended their own lives, sparing me the choice. Their bodies were taken. When I finally hunted the enemy down, I found only grotesque dolls stitched from their remains. I buried them myself, my hands raw and bleeding from clawing into the earth. Damien stayed with me, kneeling in the dirt, swearing to their graves that he would protect me with his life. That night he even carved my name into his chest, saying, Scarlet Hayes is my heart. From this day, where I am, she is. You are my life. I pressed the smoldering end of my cigarette against Piper's ear and grinned savagely before letting her go. You're right, I said coldly. They wouldn't like what I've become. Piper collapsed into Damien's arms, sobbing. She's insane. Damien didn't answer. His eyes locked on me. My hand slipped into my pocket, and he stiffened, only to relax when I drew out a ring. A gift for you. Should I place it on myself, darling? I teased. He set Piper aside and held out his hand obediently. The blade flashed. His ring finger hit the floor. My laughter rang out, sharp and wild. Damien Thorne, this is the debt you owe me. I'll collect it slowly, piece by piece. I twirled the dagger, turning it toward Piper. For the first time, Damien panicked, lunging forward. Don't touch her. Scarlet, don't make me risk it all. The words dragged me back to a night 5 years earlier, when enemies had surrounded us, flames devouring the villa, 10 guards already dead. His eyes had been bloodshot as he stood in front of me, shielding me. He had covered my eyes then, too, whispering, Don't open them. I'm going to gamble everything for you. He had even arranged new documents in case he died, making sure I could escape and start over. Now blood dripped rhythmically from his severed finger as he bound the wound with a strip of his shirt. Scarlet, he said tightly, don't push me into hating you. The words overlapped with another memory, when he had butchered my fiance and told me, if you can't love me, then hate me. Hate will at least keep me in your heart. I'll take anything, so long as I stay with you. That was when everything twisted between us. A wrong beginning, doomed to a savage end. Piper snatched the pistol from Damien's waistband, hands trembling as she aimed at me. If you hurt Damien, I'll kill you, she shrieked. But the fool didn't even know how to fire. I advanced steadily. She screamed louder, until I struck her wrist, wrenched the gun away, and shoved the barrel against her forehead. Thwack! She crumpled, clutching her head, whimpering on the floor. Revenge requires strength, I sneered. Damien, your taste in women is pathetic. I claimed the 3 auction items and walked away. Damien didn't come home after that. I knew he never would again. By morning, whispers spread everywhere. Scarlet Hayes had fallen. The infamous woman who lived on the blade's edge had been discarded, while Damien Thorne had chosen purity. For Piper, he was turning over a new leaf, even vowing to make amends for every crime. He restructured the company, cutting all ties with the underworld. But I knew the only tie he wanted to cut was me. And for Piper? He showered her with millions in jewels without hesitation. He poured fortunes into a temple just because she wanted it, claiming it was to reline a Buddha in gold. When I heard, I laughed until I cried. Charles, do you really think any god would accept a golden body from a man like him? I asked. Charles said nothing. We both knew we were past any divine protection, sentenced to live in the bloody shadows he called a life. He lavished gifts on Piper, and I pretended not to notice until a message from Damien's phone arrived, venom spelled out in text. So, what if you kill? You still can't keep a man. Scarlet, you lost. You lost everything. I showed Charles the message, grinning. Isn't that delightful? When this is done, maybe I'll get a dog too. Charles handed me the wedding invitation. He is not even divorced from you yet, and he wants to marry that wretch. Miss Hayes, you wait too long. No. I flicked a finger. I've been waiting for their wedding. On the day, the hall was full. Many of the same faces who had attended my wedding to Damien. On the screen behind the stage, images of Damien and Piper's courtship played, ending with prenatal scans. Damien looked like a man reborn, proud to be a father. I thought God was punishing me, but Piper saved me, gave me a chance to be a father. I will not disappoint her. The doors opened, revealing the bride in white, a slender silhouette that could have been angelic. Damien moved forward, ready to embrace his salvation. Piper, thank you. Then, thwack, blood exploded across the aisle. My smile showed before the dagger did, and the blade he had taught me to use was buried in his left chest, the hilt white in my fist. You. His pupils tightened. He could barely form a word as blood flooded his mouth. I twisted the blade, the metal rasping against ribs like a whisper. Damien, haven't practiced in a while. Hope you don't mind I missed your heart. Lunatic. You're insane, he roared, shoving me back hard enough to shake the chandeliers. Piper, where did you take her? He demanded, panic ripping through him, his blind eye bleeding that terrible red. She's innocent, She carries my child. If you touch her, I'll skin you alive, he shouted. Innocent. I laughed until the tears came. I pushed the dagger deeper another half-inch. 8 years ago, when your enemies came, you held my arm and screamed, "Don't touch her." Why did you not call them innocent then? 5 years ago, when I was cornered and stabbed, you hauled me to the hospital and promised, "Whoever harmed her, I will destroy their family." Why wasn't innocence your concern then? The guests had already descended into panic, phones out, screams rising. Who is that woman, pulling a knife at Mr. Thorne's wedding? Isn't that his wife of 8 years, Miss Hayes? Ridiculous. I heard she chopped off an enemy's hands. She's as ruthless as they say. I withdrew the dagger with a soft click, blood flinging onto my white dress. I tapped his cheek with the back of the blade, tone soft, almost tender. Hear that, Damien? They say the Hayes family is gone. What do you think? He clutched his chest, veins standing out, rage and fear warring on his face. Your parents are dead. The Hayes family is gone. Scarlett, hand over Piper, or I will make you. Hand her over? I cocked my head, eyes wide and innocent. You love that child so much. Why did you never have one with me? His gaze darted away, flustered, fumbling for an answer. I don't know what you mean. It wasn't my fault. It was your body. You have done unforgivable things. You don't deserve to be a mother. Unforgivable. A guest piped up, eager for scandal, the room hungry for a verdict. Exactly how many bodies are on her hands? A child of hers would inherit a ledger of blood. She should lose the man she stole. I ignored the chorus of voices, grabbed Damien by the wrist, and dragged him to the center of the hall. Blood tracked across the marble as we moved. Look. I nodded to the wall, where wedding photos hung in silver frames. We had pictures like these. You said you loved white. You said it looked clean. I hauled him toward the floral display. The veil you placed on me was just like this. You said I was most beautiful in a wedding dress. Remember? You designed my gown yourself, worked a month to prove you loved me. Damien staggered under the weight of it, fury finally snapping. Scarlett, what do you want? Stop this, hand over Piper, he shouted. I leaned in, warm breath near his bleeding neck. Piper? I killed her. The baby didn't make it either. How would you like your revenge served exactly? You wouldn't dare, he howled, signaling his men. Seize her. Beat her to death. Instead, the suited guards froze, a few edging back. The eyes of his men no longer held the same fear or reverence. Only then did Damien see them the way I had, disconnected, ready to step away. I raised my voice, calm and clear. Lock the exits. Don't let anyone leave. The bodyguards snapped into action, herding screaming guests into a corner. Knees hit the floor, hands clasped in desperate pleas. Miss Hayes, please spare us. We were wrong. Forgive our slander. I walked to the head table and sat, uncorked a bottle of red, and poured myself a glass, savoring each measured sip. Do not worry, I will not kill you now. After all, I am not a monster like Damien. He frothed, curses spilling out. Scarlett, you poisonous bitch, you will die horribly. Die horribly? I set down my glass and stepped in front of him, kneeling to press the dagger beneath his chin. Did you not once say this was the part of me you loved? That only someone as ruthless as I was could stand by your side? You told me to become like you, so we would never be separated. Why call me poisonous now? He turned away, refusing my stare. That is past. I have moved on. At my clap, the great screen snapped to life, the wedding slideshow replaced by a live feed of Piper, bound to a chair, ropes digging red into her skin. Her face was streaked with tears, a pathetic, pleading sight. Damien, help me, she sobbed on the screen. Panic ripped through Piper in the hall. Kill her. She will kill me and the baby, she screamed. Damien's eyes flared red. He lunged, but I pressed the dagger to his throat, stopping him cold. Do not move, Damien. The performance has only begun. He faltered, voice raw. Name your price, money, the company. Take it all. Tears glistened in his voice, the first time I had seen him so unraveled. I lit a cigarette, inhaled, and sent a lazy smoke ring into his face. What do I want? I want repayment, every debt from the last 8 years, returned to me, piece by piece. Piper, frantic, spat curses at the screen. Scarlett, you heartless monster. Even if I die, Damien will never love you again. I turned my head toward Damien, smiling. Did you hear that? She says you will hate me. Funny, isn't it? that you once asked me to hate you, so you would remain in my heart." He paled. "What are you implying? You told me hate would keep you alive in me. Better than being forgotten. Doesn't that count now?" I forced his chin up until he met my eyes. He had no answer. I laughed, pressed the cigarette but briefly into his cheek, leaving a smudge, then said, "I decide whether the past ends. First step, let us silence her." I turned to the screen, cold. "Cut out her tongue." "No," Damien cried, suddenly frantic. "Do not touch her. She carries my child. Do whatever you want of me instead." "To you?" I arched an eyebrow, and the blade dove into his right leg with clinical precision, severing his Achilles tendon cleanly. He bit down on a cry, the room filled with the slick, metallic sound. "You owe me, Damien. Many debts." He clenched his teeth, sweat pouring down his face, not daring to speak. Blood poured down his trouser leg, mingling with the stain on my wedding gown. The metallic scent thickened, waking something dark and patient inside my bones. Suddenly, I did not want the night to end. I stared at him, fascination braided with hunger. For 8 years, I had memorized this face. Once I loved it, certain it would never pale. Hearts change fast, and forever proved brief. On the screen, Piper trembled, terror and defiance tangled in her voice. "I will call the police. I will make sure you are arrested." Shot. "Call them then." I laughed, watching Damien go rigid. He always knew what mattered to me. "She is just a child," I said aloud, then softer. "I was young once too. 2 years younger than her, if I remember." I glanced back at the feed, then smiled. "You have been naughty. Next, let us remove her hands," I said, the idea tasting like ice. "She said my parents were turned into dolls, so let her become one. After a while, she will stop screaming." "Scarlet." Damien's roar broke my amusement. "Do not touch her, I beg you. Begging suits you." I purred, leaning close to his ear. "Kneel." His knees hit the floor, with a heavy thud. "I beg you, let her go." "Too soft, I can barely hear you." The blade dove into his left arm, the snap of tendons audible enough to make the room shiver. I regarded the slack hand with mock regret. Such a lovely hand, wasted. I moved methodically, left leg, right arm, tendon after tendon severed with small, precise slices. Blood flung across my face, yet the work felt inevitable, satisfying. Damien lay a ruined thing on the floor, a rag doll soaked in crimson, but his gaze never bowed, those crimson eyes fixed on me. "Are you content now?" His voice scraped with exhaustion, a thin thread left. "Can Piper be released?" I crouched, lifted his chin with the dagger, my breath warm against his ear. "I never promised her freedom. Your wounds are payment, and her debts must be reclaimed too." On the screen, 2 men in black appeared, blades raised toward Piper's bound hands. Her screams shredded the banquet hall. "No. Damien, save me." Suddenly the feed changed, the door on the video bursting open, men with guns flooding the frame. Damien laughed, trembling. "These are my methods, Scarlet, taught by me. You think you can learn my revenge and use it well? You are still naive." I toyed with the dagger. "I never planned to end her life yet. The performance is only beginning." The image cut to a graveyard, my parents' headstones in view, men holding 2 urns high. Damien's smile vanished, a flash of true venom in his expression. "Scarlet, look closely. Those are your parents' ashes. Let her go, and I will spare them. Otherwise, I will smash the urns." The closest wounds always know how to cut the deepest. My chest tightened, as if gripped by iron. "Would you actually do it?" I asked. "Disappointing," I told him coldly. "You still disappoint." He smirked with that old confidence. "You crossed my line first. I said I would not divorce you, but you went too far. Release her, and I will let you go." I laughed until tears fell. "You planned for everything, did you not?" "You ungrateful," he spat. He nodded anyway. On the screen, the men smashed the urns with brutal force, a crash that echoed off the chandeliers. The vessels shattered, then nothing, empty shells. Damien's face drained of color, shock overtaking him. "How?" he choked. "You thought I would leave their ashes for you to desecrate?" I asked, the answer already in my tone. I rose and looked down at him. "Damien, you're aging. Your pupil has become the master you once were. The student has overtaken the teacher, remember?" Rage shook him, his blind eye bulging until it seemed about to burst. "I will drag you down with me, even if it kills me." I already have blood on my hands. One more stain will change nothing, he snarled. Drag me down? I smiled and shook my head. I did not come to end you tonight. I came bearing a far larger gift. At my gesture, the screen switched back to Piper. Damien's men lay pinned, neutralized by my people. Piper was ruined, beaten beyond recognition, her face a map of bruises and blood, still crying and begging, but she kept calling Damien's name. I rubbed my ear, lit a cigarette, and slid it between my lips. Piper, last chance. Still not going to speak? I asked. She is old. Damien cannot protect you now, I said, watching him freeze. Piper wailed on the feed. I will tell everything. Miss Hayes, let me go. I swear I will never return. Before he could intervene, she sobbed out the truth. I am old Manjang's daughter, the one you killed years ago. You slaughtered my family. The baby is not yours. It belongs to Mr. Lee, the old rival you fought with. He sent me to seduce you and take revenge. Damien recoiled, hatred and panic warping his voice. Piper's confession tore at him. She laughed like someone unhinged. Damien Thorne, you deserve this. Even if I die, seeing you crippled is worth it. Mother, father, I have avenged you. Damien Thorne, demon, you will die horribly, she screamed. He went rigid, his expression hollow as if his strings had been cut. I stepped close, pressing the dagger to his throat. See? Heaven never forgave you. Men with blood on their hands cannot expect cleanliness, I said. Scarlet, you were right about one thing. This world is cruel, but we belong rotten together. Why did you betray me? He asked, tears and blood mingling on his cheeks. Scarlet, I loved you. I made mistakes. Give me another chance, he begged. Another chance? I laughed. A chance to be revenged on me, to kill me, or to turn me into another doll like my parents? The room erupted. Guests shouted, questions flying. Did Mr. Thorne kill Miss Hayes' parents? I thought enemies did it. Damien stammered, protesting. Not me, not me. You are wrong. You and your people took me in, treated me as kin, I said, gripping his chin until he met my stare. Then you conspired with outsiders to murder them, thinking silence would bury the truth. You were naive. He slumped, voice ragged. I did not mean to. I had no choice back then. I loved you. I did not want to lose you. My mission had to succeed, or they would not release me. I replied, wiping blood and tears from my face and smiling. How did you find out? Everyone who knew is dead. Your mistress told me, I said coolly. Your love is nauseating, he muttered. I addressed the crowd. Leave now. Speak of this day, and you will end up like Damien. The guests scattered in terror. I arranged for Piper to be sent out of the country. Damien was locked in the Hayes estate basement, a place without sunlight, exactly where I wanted him. For 7 days, Charles sent daily updates. Miss Hayes, Mr. Thorne requests to see you. He says he has something to tell you. I never went to see him. I stared at the trees beyond my window and asked softly, Charles, do you think those trees long to be free too? What is the world like outside the forest? Beautiful, perhaps. Charles draped a coat over my shoulders and sighed. Miss Hayes, you have kept yourself hidden for too long. The outside world is not as terrifying as you imagine. The dangerous one has been taken care of, I answered. From start to finish, my life had become a storm of blood because of Damien. I had once been a simple, carefree girl, living an ordinary, happy life until he stepped in and changed everything. My fiance's death was the last straw that broke me. Maybe he loved me, in his own warped way. When he killed for me, there was a shard of sincerity in him, but it never lasted. It flickered, then died before I could feel real happiness. He did not make me infertile by nature. He made me so on purpose with medicines because he could not bear the thought of anyone else sharing my body, not even our own child. I kept that secret for 8 years. Later, he wanted a child again, perhaps chasing one last beautiful thing in his heart, but I could no longer be a mother. Our crooked love was doomed from the start, buried before it could grow. I looked at Charles and smiled, feeling 18 again. You're right. I want to see the outside world too, a place without Damien Thorne. Will it be different? On the morning of the 8th day, Charles messaged, Miss Hayes, Mr. Thorne is dead. He smashed his head against the wall. He used his tongue, dipped in blood, to write 3 words on the plaster. I'm sorry. I read the message and felt nothing. I packed a bag, took the plane ticket I had bought long ago, and went to the airport. As the plane climbed, watching clouds pass, I remembered his promise to take me to the sea, where the sky was wide and unspoiled. We had been stained with blood, trapped here, unable to leave. I had once believed he protected me, only later learning it was a prison, a love-made cage meant to keep me by his side forever. Now at last I could go see the world he promised on my own terms.